What's up, Detroit? It's your girl Heather, and I'm always looking for ways to stay on top of my game. Well, listen, you know how much I rely on my phone for everything. That's why I gotta tell you about this insane deal from Verizon that'll help you be your best self too. We're talking a low price on the best 5G in Detroit. Seriously, whether I'm blasting my favorite tracks in the morning commute or snagging those last minute tickets to the hottest new flick. Check this out. You can switch today and pay just $50 a month for a single line. You heard me right. $50 a month for the best 5G in Detroit when you bring your own phone on the unlimited welcome plan with autopay plus taxes and fees. That's a no-brainer, people. Visit your nearest Detroit Verizon store today to lock in this incredible deal. $20 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Rankings based on Root Metrics Root Score report dated 2H 2024. Your results may vary. Additional terms apply.
Mets teeing off on Tiger pitching. 22 runs the last 2 games. They'll play a day game today. Carson Anderson out at Gate A at Comerica Park. We'll check in with them shortly. Tomorrow, Thursday, the return of Thursday Touchdown. We'll have Dear John, and we'll be one day closer to the Lions against the Packers. Start talking more about that game.
Yeah, but we'll actually have live NFL football tomorrow night. Something that we can all get behind and support.
And the 2 Grand Slam. Can we get 2 winners in 1 week?
Hey, we won on Tuesday.
Could happen.
Could happen. We'll see.
Between Campbell and Hinch, thoughts on both guys we talked to today? It's cool we get both on the same day.
Yeah, and for Dan, obviously, he's not going to answer the question to anyone's liking about the edge. I liked what he had to say about Terrion Arnold. I am excited about this secondary. I think it's going to be a strength of this defense. And if you pair a good secondary with how he described it, I thought it was funny that he couldn't figure out what to say was the best part of Aiden Hutchinson's game, which is awesome. And the follow-up should have been, okay, so when's the deal going to get done? Which is not, a question to him.
And I think he was asked about it yesterday, and he's like, I'm focused on Green Bay.
Yeah. And then for A.J. Hinch, you could hear it in his answers. Like, he doesn't really have an answer for his pitching rotation right now.
And his point was, I don't need to,
right,
which is noted, but it's also an answer to not have an answer. The fact that you don't have a number 2 is pretty well established in that conversation.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, and this is why I did a bad job of asking the question, but we have for weeks been talking about the pitching staff, yet you look at the standings, and they still have, for a while there, they were still the winningest team in the American League.
No,
now
I think
they're
tied
with Toronto. Like, how do we rectify that in our minds?
I think he gave a good answer about it, and just kind of the way this goes, where like fan behavior is fan behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that he understands fans being, I think, was it uneasy or unnerved about the rotation? And I think I asked him, is that tough as a manager? And he said, well, it doesn't matter if it's tough. Right. They got to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's unnerving for him, too, as much as it is for fans, because you don't want this season where you've been, to your point, John, in first place for so long or among the American League leaders for so long. You don't want to get to the postseason and be looking over your shoulder going, who am I throwing tomorrow? Whether it's a 5-game series or a 7-game series, you need more than Tarek Skubal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And on Twitch right now, really need to find ways to keep cookies to be negative on the Lions. Otherwise, we're cooked. Still going with the jinx.
Oh, I thought we moved on.
No, we'll never move on from that. It's kind of you.
Okay.
Just best to own it right now.
Doing it and sitting it. Okay. Well, I don't have the Lions winning the Super Bowl, so congrats for the parade down Woodward later. And I don't have the Tigers winning the World Series. So, double parade.
Yes, double parade, 2 in 1 year, 1 calendar year. But I am still excited about the postseason. I mean, we all know that the Tigers are going to be in the postseason.
Yep.
We don't know what it's going to look like when it gets here, but I just can't wait for October. I don't want to wish away September. Trust me.
I'll ask you the question. Who is the number 2? AJ can't answer it, but John, you have to play radio with me. AJ doesn't. Who would you put on the bump right now in game 2? Let's say it's at home. It's at Comerica Park. They're playing Seattle.
Well, okay, you're setting me up here because anybody I say, you're going to say, well, he just hasn't been good for 6. Yeah, exactly.
Flaherty. Mize. Morton.
Melton. Really?
No, I shouldn't have hit that button.
Yeah,
but I don't think they're going to do that.
No, I don't think they will either. And I know a lot of people want to know why. And I think part of the why is what AJ talked about is the flexibility of using him in the bullpen and getting more days, not more innings, but more days out of him. And I do think there is an innings conversation going on behind the scenes.
So the thought could be he could pitch games 2 and 3.
Sure.
Albeit not 5 innings apiece, but 2 here and 2 there. And now, but is that the best way? I don't know. Is that the best way to win games 2 and 3 is to pitch him in both in small doses?
Think about that, though. That's their best option. He's hardly been up here this year.
He's only pitched since right before the deadline.
He's pitched good.
It's
very, very good.
To me, it just comes down to this. Like, this is on Casey Mize. He was an all-star in the first half of the season. You don't have to be that, but you have to be a number 2 on a team. He's the guy that they, I think, expected because they had the first half sample size to carry the load so that they didn't have to do complete chaos like last year.
So I would agree with you, but I think you could also make the case that it's Jack Flaherty, who pitched on the World Series champs a year ago, who's making $25 million, to have some degree of consistency.
But he
right?
wasn't, yeah, but he wasn't an all-star in the first half of the season.
And he has the swing and miss that Mize doesn't, and we've talked about how important swing and miss is when you get to the playoffs. You don't want teams putting the ball in play a lot. I agree, Mize is more of a battler. You know, he can get out of some jams, and he can pitch more consistently, and to your point, was the number 2 pre-All-Star game. It's him, but it's also Flaherty, too. Like, Flaherty's a highly compensated, proven vet who was on a World Series team a year ago. He needs to pitch like it.
But this Reese Olson injury really has hurt them. The timing of that right at the deadline, I don't think we're having this conversation. I don't think the team would have been playing as poorly. I mean, we had the stats early in the show, bring them up again. 45 and 25 start. That's 70 games. Mm-hmm. Last 70 games, 35 and 35.
So it's questionable the real Tigers please stand up.
It goes with the starting pitching falling off.
Yeah. 20 games over versus 500.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a 500 ball club, you're not going anywhere in the playoffs. If you're the 20 over 500 ball club, you're making noise in the postseason.
Yeah. We got the guys down at Comerica?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk to these guys. Carson Anderson,
Yes,
buddies. What's up?
I just got attacked by a gnat.
Oh, did you win?
It happened.
Did you?
Which one's me?
I wasn't expecting it, so that was interesting.
Is that ambulance for you?
No, it's not, but I may want to flag it down. It's one of those things where you're just
Do you
I'm
have
just
a
sitting
gnat
down.
injury, really? A gnat?
No, it's not an injury. I'm just saying it was kind of funny because I'm just sitting here. Look, I can say something about you right now. You don't want me to do it, so I'll leave it alone.
You don't want to say it.
No. So
I want
was
you to
just
say
sitting
it.
here.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. And I was and I was staring out, and this fly comes, but it came right at me, hit me right in the nose. It was just one of those things where your eyes are trained on it the whole time. It's like, whoa. Of
Oh,
course
you
it
went
doesn't hurt.
cross-eyed.
I already am, but yes.
You get put gnats on the list?
Gnats are on the list, 100%. 100%. Here's the thing. I piggybacking off what you guys just talked about with the rotation and Casey Mize and all that. It's not Casey Mize that has to be the number 2. It's John Flaherty. And just because Casey Mize had a great first half of the season, look, man, this is baseball. It's 162 games. The guys that are consistent each and every month are superstar players. They're not, good players or decent players. They are superstars to be good every single month of the year. You just don't see that. So to expect him to be what he was in the first half or to be something close to it, I don't know if that's fair for a guy who started off the season as the number 4 or 5 guy in the rotation. It's Jack Flaherty. Flaherty's got to be – he's the one that's been counted on.
Well, we'll find out. Sounds like it's 10 o'clock.
Time for church.
Yeah.
You guys going to get a quick mass in?
I need some churching after this morning. It was a frustrating – I don't know if you guys know this, but first of all, I'm going to break my neck on this tent today. And secondly
we got a problem.
the printers don't work at the station, which has set me behind.
I think Tom may have mentioned that before.
Screaming in here on 2 wheels just to make it on time, but we're ready to go from Comerica.
Well, we're glad you made it.
Another ambulance. So
Yep.
that's the wambulance, actually.
All right, you guys
For both of us.
You guys will settle in. Carson Anderson are next. It's 97.1.
What?
So last week, I think we were here last week, right? Maybe 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, we were here last.
Yeah.
And I think we got through the whole show without any issues in terms of, a band coming by.
Helicopter landing.
Right. The rocket launch, wherever it is. Today, in the crosstalk and then currently.
Yeah.
Right now we got the Weed Whacker going.
Weed Whacker guys at it.
We had the church bells,
Yep.
which are going to go every top of the hour. And we've had not one, but 2 ambulances go by.
Two ambuli, yes. We feel like when we come down here, the grounds
over
crew
there. He's still got all this to do, I think.
Yeah, we'll be hearing from it, but more ambulances will be ordered up. There'll be. We had a dancing crew over here that played music last time we were down
yes.
here.
Yeah,
So whatever, it's part of
mob thing.
It's part of what happens when we do the show from on location, and the location is Comerica Park. Tigers wrapping up a series that's going swimmingly well against the Mets. As the Tigers are rounding into form just in time for the postseason. We will talk about them today. Here on 97.1 The Ticket. I do say something funny did happen. As we were walking up, a jogger ran past.
Yeah.
And what did he yell?
Kale!
I was like, my brother. Meanwhile, here comes Bobby Scales in the house. What's up, Bobby? How you doing?
How you doing, man?
How you doing? They're going to get the starting pitching worked out. That's quite a look. They got time. I'll call you off the air. Bobby's great. Anyway, yeah. So, starting pitching struggling. I thought AJ was great today, and I love when AJ gets questions of how come and why. He's so good at explaining how come and why, and the idea that they've got. They got the most wins in the American League. Toronto's a half game ahead now. And yet it feels like there's a bit of a crisis ongoing. I'm glad the crisis is taking place in early September as opposed to late September because I think they can work their way through it. We do have some evidence that some of these guys can pitch better than they have been pitching. Some of them might be working their way out of postseason roster spots, but look, they're still in good shape in the division. I still like their chances there. If they're playing like this when they get to the postseason, it's going to be quick.
Yeah,
it's going to be quick.
It's going to be quick, and it's going to be ugly. They obviously have to play better. The bats have to wake up, and the pitching, and specifically the starting pitching, has got to be better. The bullpen through August was great, second best in baseball, with an ERA of I think it was just under 3. It was like 2.89 or something. They were really good, but the rotation, that's all up in the air. Outside of Scooble, obviously, then it's like, well, who's the number 2, which is a question the guys kept asking AJ about, and a lot goes into that. Don't know, and that's the easy answer is I don't know right now.
They pushed him on it, and his answer was great. He's like, who are we playing? How do we want to attack them? Like it, and when they said, but if you had to decide today, and he goes, guys, I don't, and I'm not going to, because it doesn't make sense, and he's right. He's right. How do people feel? How do people pitch coming into the game? Who's pitched last? Who's the opponent?
I agree with that.
How do they do against the opponent?
I agree with that to a point. I think if they had, let's say the guys were pitching well, I think it's a different conversation. Because it might be really easy because it's already determined. If everybody's pitching, as well as we've seen them pitch, then you could say, oh, yeah, Flaherty's number 2 and Casey Mize is our number 3.
It's like asking who's the number 1. Of course, if they're pitching well, it's easier.
Well, yeah, but that's the point is that they're not. And that's why there's a million variables out there for this, and it's different than it's like what they did last year. Although last year was pitching chaos, this year it's a different kind of chaos because nobody is stepping up to be that counted on starter at this point.
Here's a bold ass prediction. Maybe it's not even bold ass. I just think pitching chaos is coming back. It's not coming back as prominent as it was last year. I'll bet you money A.J. Hinch basically says in Game 3 is going to be pitching chaos, or Game 4 is going to be pitching chaos. I think the part of his plan in this postseason is likely to include a game of pitching chaos.
Yeah.
The good thing is the bullpen's been pitching better, and we've talked about the Tigers to be to be good enough to win when they're at their best. Like we've seen them when the pitching's good, the bullpen's good, the fielding's good, the offense is good, and the offense includes putting the ball in play and taking extra bases and all the little nuances of offensive baseball, hitting behind runners, et cetera, productive outs. But when they can triangulate and get 2 of the 3, which is fielding, pitching, and hitting, when they get 2 of the 3, they can win close baseball games, and they have. Like that's been their formula for much of this season is, hey, we're going to be good in 2 of these 3 facets for this season, and you look up and you go, oh well, they keep winning series, and it doesn't mean they have an elite roster. They don't. AJ has managed. They got one elite pitcher. They got some really good players. They're starting to flirt with the idea that maybe they got a bullpen arm that's elite, but at the end of the day, Scott Anderson, it's getting 2 of those 3 rolling, and it's kind of obvious. If you're going to tell me they're not going to pick it up and they're not going to pitch well, they're going to lose. They're not going to hit. And that's true of a lot of teams, but they've done a great job at winning 2 of those 3 battles on the field every night, and that's what's got them to 20 games over.
Yep, and this is a series that is not going that way.
Oh, it's not.
So hopefully they get the win today to avoid the sweep, and then welcome the White Sox in town this weekend.
Yep, and so look, there's no question that there are issues here that need to get sorted out. There's time to sort them out. And then if you look at everybody, there's your ultimate measurement of how good or bad you are is the wins and the losses. And so while they have issues, other teams have issues too. And it's just you hope those issues don't rear their ugly heads at the wrong time, because if it does, it's going to be quick. It's going to be one and done.
And you know what, Doug?
What?
Nobody wants that.
Nobody does want that.
Nobody wants that.
So how was your Tuesday night? Oh, just
It was strange. I wasn't feeling great. I don't know why. I hadn't eaten since like 2:30. I had a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because that's what I do. So I didn't eat anything last night. It just my stomach wasn't feeling great. I'm like, well, I just avoid eating or something. But then I started getting the chills.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's this about? It's not that cold in my house. I don't understand that. And then I got a wicked headache, and did not sleep all that great last night. Tried to go to bed early, and it just wasn't, was not working out.
It was just a mess in the Gator house.
It really was. It really was. And at some point overnight, I started to feel a little bit better, and I feel better now.
Good.
But, because I had to battle, Doug. There was some battling.
You battled through?
I battled through.
He was banged up, people.
Yeah.
He was banged up. I was banged up over the weekend. Sore throat. Terrible thing to have in our line of work. I mean, terrible thing to have in our line of work.
Yeah, when are you going to have to call a football game?
Yeah, that was not good.
No.
I was feeling it Saturday night, and boy, did I feel it Sunday. But I was really glad that we didn't have a show to do on Sunday. I was very pleased.
Yeah.
And then I have Monday off, too, which helps. So, anyway, Carson Anderson. I thought Dan Campbell said something that feeds into a discussion we had yesterday. He's usually good to hear from, and he said something I really want to get into today, and we will play that for you today at 10:20 on Carson Anderson from outside Comerica Park. It's going to be a nice day. Nice day for baseball. Nice day for the Tigers to get the train back on the tracks. Nice day to propel ourselves, to catapult ourselves into a massive football weekend with the 2 college teams, Michigan and Michigan State, playing big games, and the Lions open up against Green Bay. I've had a real weird epiphany about Green Bay. I made a decision.
Oh.
Up here, Gator. Up here. In the head is the brain.
You're going to have to make is it a psychological trick?
It might be.
Oh.
I'll tell you what it is. And then you tell me if it's a psychological trick or you kind of get where I'm coming from.
Okay.
We'll get to that in the 11 o'clock hour. It is Carson Anderson here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, FanDuel is getting ready for you to kick off your football season with an offer you don't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. I mean, you can pick any bet, but I'm going to tell you the bet to pick. Find a heavy favorite and just bet them on the money line with your $5. And if that bet wins, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Then if you want to do futures or parlays or player props or whatever it is, but take my advice on this one. To try and get that $300, give yourself the best chance and just bet a favorite on the money line. FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season's finally here. It starts tomorrow. The only question really is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/Doug to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 years of age or older and present in Michigan. The first online real money wager, only $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued is now withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson outside Comerica Park, 248-539-9797. Gator, a guy named Mike came by and asked us to do a shout-out to his wife, Cheryl, in Lincoln Park. We don't do shout-outs.
No, we don't do shout-outs.
So we aren't going to do that. But if we did, we'd say hi to Cheryl McGuire.
I mean, we appreciate Cheryl listening every day. I mean, that's great.
But we're not going to do that.
But we don't.
Let's get to your phone calls. We go to Paul. You're on 97.1 A Ticket. Hello, Paul.
Hello and good morning, gentlemen. How are we today?
All right.
Okay. Nice day.
Yes.
We got
it really
a car
is.
alarm. We got a car alarm going off in the background now. Sorry.
That's a new
that's
one.
great.
Yep.
So, guys, you were talking about the pitching chaos. Last year, obviously, it was a super necessity based on the situation. And I feel like they kind of planned for it this year in that, like, all you're seeing now is like, they went and got a bunch of veteran arms, starters who may not have a full start in them anymore, but 2 solid innings. That's pretty good. So 3 starters in that, or 2 starters in that in a playoff situation, and I feel like they tried to build in a slightly more reliable version on that. And also, Doug and El Gator, are you planning maybe to come by tomorrow night to Ypsilanti to support and maybe sit in with Doug's dad? Just curious, because I'm looking forward to Doug's dad's show tomorrow.
Mom and Dad are playing music. They got a band that they go out and play local shows, and they basically say they play for beer money, which I respect.
Yeah, it's very respectable. And
Gator
I'm
could.
so respectable of Doug's parents that I will not sit in with them.
You probably could.
No, I probably
You got
could.
a little bit of talent with the guitar.
Come on,
Dad
Dave.
might let you. My dad might let you play his Strat.
That's pretty sweet. It's a great strat.
Yeah. As far as them, thank you for the phone call, Paul. As far as them trying to build out a more reliable version of pitching chaos, I mean, they might be. I think I think the goal was to avoid it, but let's face it, the plan included Cobb, Job, and Olsen. I mean, that if you go back to the beginning of the season, those guys were in the starting rotation or battling for spots in the starting rotation. Or
supposed to be, yeah.
So, one of them was going to be a spare arm, because you figured Skubal, Flaherty, Mize, and then some combination of Reese Olson, Alex Cobb, and Jackson Jobe. And look, the Cobb thing is a swing and a miss. It just hasn't happened. And, they're not all going to hit. Unfortunately, that one didn't. They've managed to, however, get themselves in this position through a lot of competent decisions. But, hey, man, they're going to have to find a way to piece it together. You don't have to win every game. You don't have to win 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7.
This is true. And if you go back to, back in spring training when they were fleshing out what we thought was going to be the rotation, keep in mind, Casey Mize was battling for a rotation spot. That wasn't just handed to him. He had to earn that along with Jackson Jobe, and they did. But the injuries, the fact we haven't seen Alex Cobb, that's tough. That's really tough for this team. They invested in him, thought he was going to be able to give him 1 year, and he hasn't been able to. Now it's to the point where he's only going to come out of the bullpen if he's going to come up at all. He's still at Toledo.
Yep. They
restarted a rehab stint with him there, so they buy themselves some more time. And I think he walked 3 batters the other night. It was the last night maybe. Walked 3. Didn't give up a run in 1 inning of work, but it's like 1 hit and 3 walks in an inning is suboptimal, as you like to say.
Yep.
And other pitchers they were hoping were going to be something that they've struggled. Alex Lang is still struggling at Toledo to get back. And, they've got a handful of pitchers that just seem to be, running up the miles on their lease vehicles going from Toledo to Detroit. And it's going to be that way. That's how it's going to be throughout the entire month. And then when we get ready for the playoffs, there's going to be some tough talk in trying to figure out who the best guys are to play for this team in the postseason, and specifically on the pitching side. And yeah, I agree with you what you said earlier. I think they are going to go with some form of pitching chaos, and I think that Troy Melton gives them a little bit of that opportunity to give them a few solid innings every few days, as opposed to using him in a rotation or just, hey, he's going to be a 1-inning guy. They really like what he can bring to this team, so I think it's interesting to see how they're going to use him. But it's not just him. We saw Paddock came out of the bullpen last night. Now he's away on leave because of a death in the family. But that might be his role moving forward. We don't know.
We don't
know.
All
these guys, it's like, would I think Charlie Morton's in a rotation? I would think, and yet I can't guarantee that.
No, and I like AJ said, who are we playing?
Yeah.
What are the matchups? How are guys pitching going in? You know who's suddenly becoming a guy? Rafael Montero.
Montero's pitched well.
I mean, it's like he's going on 8 innings here without allowing a run or a hit.
Boy. Oh, boy.
Well, I mean, we
he's
can't
pitched well.
not talk about
he's
we
pitched
can't
well.
not talk about facts.
I just wish you'd knock on wood. That's all. He's pitched well, for sure.
Yep.
After a rough start in his Tigers debut, it was not very good, and he has been very, very good lately. And you like to see that, to get somebody else that's not just competent but good coming out of the bullpen. Because here's what's going to happen. Eventually he's going to give up runs, and he's going to give up hits, because you can't be perfect.
No.
Same thing with Finnegan. I feel like we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop with Finnegan, because he's going to have a bad outing at some point. It's just that's the law of averages. You can't go through his season pitching as well as he has. So, and when it does, I hope that it doesn't torpedo the chances to win that particular game, and I certainly hope it doesn't, sink the spirits of all Tiger fans out there. It will happen.
Okay, we got plenty of Tiger Talk scheduled for today, but something Dan Campbell said today is a question that we get asked about all the time. It comes up on a daily basis. The guys asked him about it again. What about Zadarius Smith? The Lions had him last year. They cut him. There's been a lot of you never know talk. There's been Zadarius Smith publicly almost recruiting the Lions to bring him back. He's still out there. There's still angst about the edge position opposite of Hutch. They brought it up again this morning with Dan Campbell. why not Zadarius Smith? And here is what he had to say today, this morning, Lions head coach Dan Campbell. The Zadarius Smith cut, Kang. Okay, we're good. We're good. Now, when they asked that question, Jim Costa from the morning show acknowledged that they started getting texts from people, why do you keep asking? And because it's like every press conference, every time he talks, this question does come up. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you one of the reasons why we keep asking. Because people keep asking us. Right. It is amazing that this topic comes up every day. And as we get closer to the season, the angst is growing over the pass rusher opposite of Hutch. I've noticed in the more and more feedback we've gotten, I think it's probably time to put Zadarius Smith to the Lions, that story to bed, at least temporarily, if not permanently, because today's September 3rd. The opener's September 7th. They've had multiple opportunities to make a run at Zadarius Smith, and they have chosen not to. And I think the message is loud and clear. They don't want him.
Well, I think the message is loud and clear. Their roster is set right now. They're good with it. They don't need to add Zadarius Smith in their minds. Now, I think it's also very interesting that the 31 other teams in the NFL have not signed Zadarius Smith either. I don't think this is dead and done for the rest of the season. I think that as soon as the Lions get an injury to one of their players on the defensive line, it's going to be brought up.
That's why I said temporarily, if not permanently.
As long as he is available, someone is always going to ask that question. And we'll see if the questions stop based on what happens on Sunday. If Marcus Davenport gets out there and has, 2 quarterback sacks and a few pressures, and Hutchinson has a couple sacks, the team overall gets after Jordan Love and the Lions win handily, I think that you buy yourself a few weeks of time to get everybody shut up. But it might be short-lived because it's the next one up is, Caleb Williams and the Bears in week 2. And then you got a running quarterback, and that's going to be that whole thing. I mean, each week you're going to be presented with a different challenge. That's National Football League. But for right now, it's obvious and clear that the Lions feel very confident in their roster. They've said it a couple of times, both the coach and the GM, that they think this is the best roster they've had, and they're not going to add Zadarius Smith to it. Not at this point.
And, people don't ask us about John Kaminsky. Like, they don't call and text every day. How come they haven't contacted John Kaminsky? Or how come this is the question that gets brought up all the time. I mean, we've had people go so far as to say, I'd feel so much better about this team had they brought in Zadarius Smith. We get that text almost on a daily basis. And what's crazy is the disconnect between that and clearly how the Lions feel. That there's a lot of people that think this guy's the solution, and they so clearly don't.
I'll tell you why I think the Lions feel good about themselves right now. And it's going to be an answer that I don't think Lions fans like. I think they really like Marcus Davenport. I think what they've seen out of him in training camp has been the Marcus Davenport that's the good Marcus Davenport. The guy that gets out there and is not necessarily a game wrecker, but he more than holds his own. He can bring a pass rush. He is a guy that can stay out there on the field for 4 downs. He's not just a pass rusher, and I think they like what they have there. And as long as he stays healthy, which of course is the big if, as long as he stays healthy, they feel pretty good about what they have in terms of their bookend defensive ends. Even if other people don't, because other people will certainly look back and say he's got this injured past, which he does. It's prolific with how injured he's been throughout his NFL career, but it's also been pretty impressive that when he's healthy, he's pretty good.
Well, we'll get more into this. 248-539-9797. It's game week. The Lions take it on Green Bay on Sunday. We've had some Tiger calls to get the show going and some feedback coming in as well. It's Carson Anderson outside Comerica Park here on 97.1 The Ticket. Outside Comerica Park, it's Carson Anderson, and quite frankly, it's been a little chaotic today. And we're just I'm Phil. You know what I am? I'm discombobulated. Scott.
You are
I am discombobulated, and I forgot it is a Wednesday, and we have prepared and we are ready for what we do on every Wednesday at this time, and that is college football questions. It's the NIL transfer portal, live animal mascot, marching band thingy, and let's go. There we go. Heads or tails, Scott?
Tails.
He calls tails, and it's a head. I will receive.
All right, boys, here we go. Question number 1. A couple of big-name teams lost last weekend. Which team bounces back from their loss and makes the playoff anyways? Texas, Alabama, Clemson, or Notre Dame?
So I'm going to go with Notre Dame. It's a combination of faith in the coach and a favorable schedule. Marcus Freeman, I think, is an exceptionally good coach with a great sideline demeanor. And I like the way he runs his program, which stings a little bit because he is at Notre Dame, and I'm not a big fan of the college he played for. But the reality is, I recognize and respect the work that he has done. So I think Marcus Freeman is going to get this thing going for this Notre Dame team this year. Additionally, their schedule, they got the week off this week. Then they play Texas A&M in South Bend. And as of now, after that, no more ranked teams. So I think there's a really good chance. I mean, they kind of got to win this next game. If they don't, I don't know if they can move the needle that much more the rest of the way. But an 11-1 Notre Dame team gets in. Now, I'm just giving them 11 wins after they're 0-1, which is probably not safe, but I got to pick one of them, so I'm going to go with the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, I'm going to say that 3 of these 4 teams will make the playoffs, actually. I think the only one that doesn't is Alabama. I just think that the road in the SEC is going to be too tough. They lost that game to Florida State, which doesn't look good for them. Too many good teams that they're going to end up taking another loss, at least one more loss, probably 2 more, and I think 3 will knock them out. But go back and watch Texas and Ohio State. The defensive battle. The defense travels, and Texas is going to be able to shut down some teams. It was a really good game. Those are 2 teams that are going to be playing in the playoff. Go back to watching Clemson and LSU. Those are 2 really good teams. It was a 1-score game. 17-10 was the final. Those are 2 teams that I think will be playing in the playoff. And then you've got Notre Dame. What did Notre Dame do? They lost to Miami. Miami's a really good team. So is Notre Dame. I think both of those teams are going to end up back in the college football playoff. So I've already given you 6 of the playoff teams just from this one question. The only one that's out, I think, is Alabama.
Nice, Gator. I'm going to go back to Texas as well, just picking one out of the 4 here. Texas. Arch Manning is probably not as good as everyone thinks he is, but I still think he's a good quarterback. It was his first start on the road against The Ohio State University. I don't like Matt Patricia, but he actually might be good at calling defense. So, that's a tough task to ask for a first-time start on the road for Arch Manning. I think he'll be better. And even with 2 losses, because you guys know I'm predicting him to lose to Kentucky later on in the season, Texas still gets into the playoff. All right, year 2 of the 4 Pac-12 teams joining the Big Ten: Oregon, UCLA, USC, and Washington. Does it feel like they're league members to you yet?
No. It still doesn't. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was during the show, I was going to look up a box score because I think somebody had mentioned something about Iamaleava, the quarterback,
right,
at UCLA, and I'm like, oh, well, let me go look at the box score, see how he did, and I'm like, okay, so he's in the Pac-12. I'm like, no, he's in the Big Ten. I had to rethink that, and the same thing. I was looking up Washington's box score as well. I have to retrain my brain. I'm not sure why I'm having to do that still, but yeah, I'm struggling with it.
Yeah, I am too, and I guess it's just I for whatever reason, accepting Penn State and Nebraska was a little bit easier
Midwest
than accepting these teams. I find I'm going the other way. It's outright brewing hostility towards them, and I feel bad about it. I'm like they were invited into the club. They wanted to be a part of the club. And yet I'm not rooting for them at all. And I guess maybe it's just irritation that Oregon came in and won the league. I don't know. But I don't.
Was it easy?
I'm not vibing it in any way whatsoever.
Was it easy for you to accept Maryland and Rutgers?
No. I don't know. But I'm not hostile towards them. They're kind of irrelevant. But
Maryland and Rutgers are irrelevant.
These teams, I'm not. I'm disappointed in myself, but I'm like rooting against them. But I think conference expansion is absurd.
Yeah, they don't feel like league members to me, guys. I don't think they ever will. I'd have to ask Stoney if he felt like when the Ivy League added more than 4 teams to their conference, or the Big 8 went to the Big 12. Does it still feel real to him? I don't know. Maybe it never will for me. But my kids will grow up this way. Who knows? It'll probably change by the time my kids even care about football. To be honest with you, be one entire full league, right? Never will. All right. Penn State announced yesterday that they are planning on switching from Nike to Adidas. Does this matter in any tangible way?
Yeah, it actually does. And, not for the reasons it used to, because you used to have to sell recruits and emphasize things like facilities and, oh, look at the cool gear we have. And now the facilities don't matter as much and the cool gear doesn't matter as much. But the shoe contract matters for the school because there's no way you make that switch without getting more money from Adidas. And money equals players in 2025. And so with the NIL world and the way that schools have to now raise funds, the arms race of facilities is over. The arms race in fundraising is more important than ever. And I'm going to guess that this is a financially prudent move for Penn State. And so it matters in that tangible way. They make more money.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, and for those same reasons. It's just that simple. It's a contract that's going to be better than the previous contract they had, and it's a contract that helps to, shoe all of the athletes at Penn State. It's not just a football deal, right? So it's one less thing that the university has to worry about in terms of paying for. This is already taken care of. That's just a contract.
Yeah, make it 3 for 3 on the money thing, but I'll add something as well. Nike is not exactly as cool as it used to be compared to other shoe companies, like New Balance, Adidas, for example, too. Like, there's other shoe brands that kids care about now, and so it doesn't have to always be Nike. But the number one thing, as you guys mentioned, is as long as it pays them more money, and that's what it really matters.
New Balance.
All right, Iowa plays Iowa State this weekend. Guys, what's your favorite non-marquee rivalry?
All right, so I was struggling with this because I feel like they're all. If you find a rivalry, it's gonna be. But then you say marquee, and what you got to define marquee. But I'll answer the question. I went with one that was of 2 lesser teams, but it does mean something to me, and it's Indiana and Purdue, playing for the old Oak and Bucket. My dad went to Purdue. His twin brother went to Indiana, and there's a lot of history there. So I'm gonna go with that one. I've always been, I've been a fan of Purdue football because of my father for all those years. I was a fan of Purdue before Doug thought it was cool. So that's the one for me. It doesn't really get heated, but I do enjoy watching it, and I definitely root for the Boilermakers.
So I was thinking about, all right, what's a rivalry game that I always seem to watch? And there's one that stands out. I think it's because of where it falls on the calendar. It's Iowa, Nebraska, and the Battle for the Heroes Trophy. It's always on Black Friday. It kicks off at 11 a.m. I'm usually on the air, and I'm usually watching it, and I usually am either paying attention right to the end because I'm getting off the air and going home, or I'm driving to Columbus listening to the end of the game. And it seems like they play exciting games. So I always am watching Iowa, Nebraska, the Battle for the Heroes Trophy, and that would be the one that is my favorite non-marquee rivalry.
So, Gator, I'm going to be honest. I did not like this question. This was a Doug Karsh question because I don't care unless it's a marquee rivalry. You know what I mean? Like, honestly. So you made me look stuff up, Doug. And so when I looked stuff up, do you guys know who plays for the Panty-Olo Trophy?
The Panty-Olo?
Not Panty. The Panty-Olo Trophy.
Is it Hawaii and somebody?
Yes, correct. It's Hawaii versus Wyoming. Panty-Olo or Panty-Olo, however you pronounce it, means cowboy. They play for the Cowboy Trophy, so I thought that was pretty cool, and I might care now. Hawaii versus Wyoming. All right, the ACC levied a $50,000 fine against Florida State as part of its new on-field storming regulations. Is this fair or unfair?
I think it's fair. Having been on the field for 16 years in an era where Michigan actually lost way more games and had a number of field stormings in opposing stadiums, it is kind of scary. I think what should happen is visiting teams that are about to get field stormed should be warned about it and say, hey, skip the handshake line, get right to the tunnel. We think there's a potential field storming, and get them out of there as quickly as possible. But having been out there and seeing how things can get ugly, I think I don't know if it's going to matter, but there has to be some regulation against it. I just hope that those things skip the handshake and just get the hell out of Dodge when they see it coming.
I think it's totally fair. It's about safety. It's a different world we live in today. You don't know what's going to happen, and sadly, we've seen too many incidents happen over the last few years where stuff that does happen between players and fans at the end of games. I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of the field storm anyway, unless it's really, really deserved. But it feels like teams just doing it now. This is the first game of the season, albeit you beat Alabama, but so did Michigan last year in the bowl season. So, I mean, it's not like you haven't been there before. You're Florida State. You won a national championship like 10 years ago. It's not that long ago. You should know better than that. I don't like the field storming. So go ahead and fine them.
Yeah, it's fair. And the fine gets bigger and bigger the more they do this. So, and it is a different world we live in. Unfortunately, you got to look out for not just the player safety, everyone's safety. And this is just the way it is now. But I also would like to add, though, I feel like if you're like an FCS school and you win, you should be allowed. Other than that, pay the fine. All right, last one real quick. As good as the last week's schedule was, this one is not that good, guys. So I don't care. Give me an upset anyways.
Well, this schedule does suck. There's no question about it. I was looking through it, and just there's no matchups to really like. But there is a matchup between a 2-0 team and a 1-0 team. Kansas takes a show on the road at Missouri. Kansas is 2-0 to start the season. Missouri is a 6.5-point favorite. I think Kansas is already a little bit battle-tested here. Looking forward to upsetting the Cats, and I've got Kansas winning this one. Get the upset.
Okay, I'm going to take a 17.5-point underdog.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that team pulled off one of the more impressive. They've already pulled off an upset, and it was impressive. South Florida jumps at Boise in impressive fashion, running away. They go to Florida. We learned nothing about Florida in a 55-0 win over Long Island University. So I'm going to take South Florida on the road at Florida as an upset this week.
Saucy.
All right, guys, I got Duke over Illinois. Duke just destroyed Elon. That's right, the Elon Phoenix. Duke's riding high right now, man. 45 points last week. Illinois ranked 11. We all know they're never good. The line I go down early.
Pretty good.
Yeah, okay. They say
Hey, you had to pick an upset. That qualifies.
Yeah, that's an upset for sure.
There you go. And that concludes the transfer portal marching band live animal mascot college football thingy.
Hey, is your garage door making some really strange noises? Is it not working as well as it used to? Well, if you're looking to get it fixed or see what the heck is wrong with it, do the right thing, and call the great folks over at Precision Garage Door Service. I did this more than several years ago, probably about 10 years ago, when my garage door was kind of slow. They came out, they diagnosed the problem, and they fixed it right there in the spot because they've got expert technicians in the field. They have all the equipment and stuff they need in their trucks to go ahead and fix the problem. Now, they even told me, hey, at some point you're going to have to get new garage doors, so keep us in mind. And when that happened several years later, it's exactly who I called. Give them a call today, 1-800-DOOR-REPAIR, or you can schedule an appointment online and schedule an appointment at your convenience at precisiondoormi.com. That's 1-800-DOOR-REPAIR, or schedule that appointment online at precisiondoormi.com.
Okay, that is Dan Campbell. That's Dan Campbell this morning on the morning show, talking about, well, what led to it was a question about Zadarius Smith. And we're kind of ready to put it to bed. The reason it got asked about again, and the reason we're bringing it up again, is because yesterday when we talked about whether or not people feel better or worse about this Lions team and their chances to win the Super Bowl, the responses we got for people who feel worse, many were centered around Zadarius Smith. Many were centered around the fact that they didn't think the Lions did enough on the defensive line. Dan Campbell this morning said we're good and proceeded to describe pretty much why he feels confident about the entire defensive line. Now, look, let's be clear on something. Just because Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes says it doesn't mean, word has cometh from on high, and on the stone tablets it says, chipped in, we're good.
Are you sure?
No, but I am sure of this. I can disagree, but we see straight up hostility towards the organization. And I'll give you an example. Here's a text that comes over just even this morning, right? The arrogance from this front office will be our downfall. Quote, we're good on adding Smith will be remembered when Davenport is out in week 3 with injury. That's from Josh and Warren. So that's not just a, hey, I disagree. That's hostility towards the organization. And that's what I don't get.
Well,
I don't get straight up hostility. Disagreement is one thing. The arrogance from the front office, that is hostility towards a group that has been pretty much about as competent as any group we've ever had. And that's why disagreement is one thing. That kind of response to me is the ones I find most intriguing.
Well, I think you have to break it down and understand where it starts from. It starts from a disagreement. The fundamental disagreement, the counting on Marcus Davenport is a good strategy. That's where it starts. That's the disagreement right away. Like, they don't think that's the way to go. And that person would think that Zadarius Smith is a better option because he's proven to stay healthier and can be a very adept pass rusher. So once you start from that angle, then the vitriol comes out, and they use a word like arrogance. I don't think it's out of line when people have said about Brad Holmes on occasion that he comes across as a little arrogant. There have been times, when he had the whole receipts press conference.
I didn't love that.
Right.
But
I'm just saying there have been moments. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying there's been moments. And if you disagree fundamentally with going with Marcus Davenport over Zadarius Smith, and then the response for why, when you're asked about it, is like, we're good, I can see why somebody would come up with that. But I'm not sure I'd label as hostility, but I see your point.
I think when you call them the arrogance, this will be remembered as, he wants to put a pin in this and circle back so he can burn them later. I think that's pretty hostile towards them. And, I mentioned at the time, and I guess, look, we all do what we think is appropriate and react to what we think is appropriate. When Brad Holmes did the receipts thing, you guys told me not to take Penny. How's that worked out? Like, that whole thing, you guys wanted me to do this. You guys wanted me to do that. How's that worked out? How's this worked out? I'm like, okay, you don't need to do that. But I wasn't hostile towards him. I don't think so I think disagreement is one thing, but we got a bunch of, like Josh and Warren here, we got a bunch of that yesterday. A bunch of straight up hostility that they just cannot buy into what this team is doing to try and push them over the top. I mean, the next text that comes in is from Nick. Guys, move on. The Lions don't want Smith back. Be better on air. Okay, Nick, we program a lot, and when we went to open lines, we program a lot to sort of see what the people are talking about and then respond that way. And so, Nick, I get that you are fine with it, but it kind of changed for me yesterday when I saw how many people were mad. Remember the guy who said they don't have a shot because they have, quote, no pass rush, and was really pissed at him?
Right.
And yet, last year they were middle of the pack playing without Hutch for half the year. And I'm like, huh. So, are Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes competent? I would argue that they're way more competent than incompetent. And Campbell says this morning we're good. I'm intrigued as to why he says that. Now, like, I'll give you an example. I disagreed with something they did. Turns out Brad Holmes was probably wrong, and I was probably right. And that was, it doesn't make sense to me to trade up to take Broderick Martin. It's okay if you love Broderick Martin, but did they really need to move up to get Broderick Martin? So I paid close attention to the arc of his career, as many people did, and it didn't work out. That's okay. It didn't work out. That's one of the rare occasions where I was right and he was wrong. But at the end of the day, I'm not hostile towards him. Good God, they've done good work here. No. The "we're good" line, I mean, are they going to be? What if they really are? What if Davenport is really good? What if the depth guys that they have can get the job done? And I think it's possible. I think it's really, really possible that this part of the team is undervalued and that just the simple variable of bringing back Hutch changes everything.
Well, that's what people have to see because Hutchinson got hurt and we had all those calls in the offseason. He's not going to be back. It's going to take him forever. It's going to take him a while to get back. And then, you and I were like, okay, it was a clean break in the leg. There don't seem to be any setbacks in his rehabilitation. He's going to be at training camp from day one, which he was. And, now it's to the point where Dan Campbell says he's better than ever.
Yeah.
So I think people need to see it. They don't want to just hear it.
Yeah,
we
really need it. We need to get games to start being played. And
so once you see, Jordan Love on his back with Aiden Hutchinson on top of him or Marcus Davenport on top of him, that's what it's going to be. But with Hutch, I think it's a quick changeover. People are like, okay, cool, Hutch is back. Davenport's a different story because everybody's waiting for Davenport to get hurt, and that's where this anxiety or hostility or whatever you want to call it comes into play.
Let's go to Ben. You're on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Ben.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I wanted to switch gears a little and talk just briefly about the Tigers. My question is, with such an important series against we're playing the Mets right now. We're battling for playoff positioning. My concern is that we're not utilizing our pitching staff, both starters and bullpen, in an optimal way to give us the best chance to win. That's mostly the last two games, but the examples I'll give is on Labor Day, I thought Charlie Morton pitched a good game, but with the score tied in either the sixth or seventh inning, we brought in Drew Summers, who doesn't have a big pedigree, and he's got an 18 ERA. And then Sawyer Gibson Long yesterday, I'm thinking a bullpen game might have helped us more.
Well, AJ Hinch is managing to win today's game, but also cognizant of the rest of the schedule. They are battling for playoff positioning, sort of. They've got this division. They're very comfortably in the lead. The lead now is down from 3-2, I think, overnight in the battle for the last bye, although that's not true because the Yankees are in second place. So Boston's in the same. It's Houston. They're 3.5 games up on Houston.
Yeah.
So they've still got a comfortable lead. My guess is he's trying a little bit to ration some arms to get to the postseason, and they have a decent lead in the last first-round bye, which is what they're really battling for. So he probably isn't managing like it's Game 7 of the World Series on a night-in, night-out basis. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I totally agree with it, and he doesn't have to. I think right now what they're trying to do is figure out, which guys they can put in the bullpen that are going to help them out. And that's why you're going to see an influx of guys from Toledo. Eventually they're going to settle down and they'll have their 13 pitchers on the staff going into the playoffs. But until then, that's why you're going to see Chase Lee up and down. You're going to see Drew Sommers up and down or a number of different guys up and down. Maybe Brand Herter comes back or Hannafy, could be up and down. There's a lot of guys on this roster in that situation. And other guys in the mix that have yet to come back up, like Alex Cobb or Urquidy could be another one who pitched last night. They've got guys they want to get a look at before September is done, and who knows? And then
they're still searching. He's searching for answers, isn't he? Yeah.
This is not a finished product by any means, but is this series that important against the Mets? I don't think it's terribly important. Everything is important in terms of trying to stay in the number 2 seed or maybe overtake and get the number 1 seed. I get that. But the schedule will work itself out. Mets are a good baseball team. You want to show that you can play with the best. Hopefully they can win today. But after that, we got Chicago coming to town, and the White Sox are not one of the better teams in baseball. They play better in the second half. But let's start taking advantage of the schedule here and just win the games.
Carson Anderson, 97.1.
Brought to you by MyMichiganRoof.com. The Detroit News reports Pistons free agent guard Malik Beasley's paid nearly $40,000 in delinquent rent and moved back into his downtown Detroit high-rise, with his lawyer telling the News he loves the city and doesn't want to close the door on a possible reunion with the Pistons. The Tigers look to avoid being swept by the Mets with Casey Mize on the mound this afternoon at Comerica Park. Clay Holmes starts for New York. The Tigers can't get Juan Soto out in the series. He's got 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. That first pitch, 110 right here on 97.1 The Ticket. The top Lions rumor of the summer remains before Sunday's season opener with Green Bay. This morning right here on 97.1, head coach Dan Campbell was asked about the possibility of bringing Zadarius Smith back. On the other side, new Packers star pass rusher Micah Parsons may need an ejection for his back to play on Sunday. He's been limited in practice this week. At the Corwell Health Sports Desk, I'm Luke Sloan. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket or Odyssey.com.
Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Open lines, 248-539-9797. We're outside Comerica Park. I get a weird thing, whether it's a mental trick or not, or you can actually agree with me. We'll get to that today at 11:30. I might be just that warped, Scott. But let's get back to open line calls. We go to Dennis next here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hello, Dennis. Oh, we lost Dennis. Sam is next on 97.1. Hello, Sam.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Okay, Sam.
I just want to talk about the Zadarius Smith situation a little bit and kind of a little bit where the fans, I think, are coming from. You see in all these sports, the teams that are almost at that point where they're going to win, the championship, the Super Bowl, they all make that move. And I'm not saying Zadarius Smith is that move, but anyone can look at last season and say the reason we fell short, the majority of the reason was due to injury. And for the guys that are supposed to be leading the team in the front office to be confident in a guy that will get injured at some point. I mean, I hope he makes it, at least till McNeil gets back or something, but he will get injured. I mean, he gets injured every season. He got injured last season. And for them to bank on that guy when we're 1-2 pieces away, or, I mean, we might have the team now, but maybe 1-2 pieces away from winning that Super Bowl, it creates a lot of anxiety in the fans and, that feeling of almost despair of we won't ever make that move to get us over the hump, and then our window's going to be gone. And you see that in Detroit sports a lot. So I think that's where a lot of that, almost aggression from the fans towards the front office is coming from. It's just the lack of aggressive moves from the front office in all Detroit sports consistently.
Do you think it's that the Lions not get, if they sign Zadarius Smith, would that appease you?
If they signed Zadarius Smith, I would feel a lot more confident in our chances to win a Super Bowl this year because we'd have some depth. I mean, Dan Campbell.
Let me ask you this. Fair enough. I get, but let me ask you this: do you think they know more about Zadarius Smith and his fit with this team than you or I do?
Definitely, which is why.
Okay, so then why do you think that they haven't signed him? Why do you think they're so adamant about? No, we've got the roster. We don't need to go there. They've got cap space. They could sign him if they wanted to, but they clearly don't. Not only that, 31 other teams haven't signed him either. Why do you think that is? I don't know the answer. I'm just curious as to what the answer might be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. There could be something else going on there, but there were other edges on the market. I mean, Micah Parsons got traded. Matthew Judon got signed.
Okay, all right, slow down. Would you have traded?
The Parsons thing wasn't.
You can't trade
because
for
that contract is.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Look, I guess I'd just say this: what you are bringing up is if and when somebody gets hurt, and the one thing that they unquestionably have, and they emphasize all the time, is they have roster flexibility and they got some cap space. So if and when somebody gets hurt, they can make a move. And to make a comment that all the teams that are close make a move. Last year, Philly didn't. Last year, Philly at the trade deadline went back and you go look at it and you read, Philly sits out the trade deadline. They didn't try to improve themselves, and they went out and won a Super Bowl. You know who didn't do anything at the trade deadline? The Oklahoma City Thunder didn't do anything at the trade deadline. Like, there's examples of teams that could but opt not to, and the Lions have the flexibility to do something if necessary. If they're wrong, okay? If they're wrong with Davenport, they can try to do something at the trade deadline.
Right. They did something at the trade deadline last year.
And here's the thing.
By going after Zadarius Smith.
If I'm going to guess right now, I'm not sure they know what they need more. Another edge rusher or perhaps an interior offensive lineman. And they're going to take this team out for a bit of a test drive and find out and then be able to address it with the resources they have if necessary. Like that seems a logical approach to what otherwise seems like perhaps an illogical situation, because he's right. The injuries were terrible last year. The depth at the edge spot doesn't feel great. They did go get two guys off the waiver wire that were cut by other teams, but usually great players aren't cut by other teams. But they might see a need for them. They make that move. They think those guys could fit here. Great. But I'm not more concerned about the edge rusher than I am the interior of the offensive line. I'm as concerned with both of them. But they want to take this team out for a spin and see if they maybe have the answers in-house before they do something out-of-house.
Yeah,
That would make some sense to me.
Well, I think that does make sense. I think they've got their roster, they like their roster, and they know because they've built it in by not using up all the cap space that if it comes to the trade deadline and they have to address a couple of needs, or maybe it's just one need, maybe it's a glaring need, that they can. So at this point, go with them right now because you are healthy, and keep in mind that, after the trade deadline, you're going to get some other guys back. You'll get Aleem McNeil back. You might get Malcolm Rodriguez back. You might get some other guys back that will be impact players. There's no question Aleem McNeil could be an impact player if he's back to 100%, which there's no reason to think that he won't be. But to have that built-in kind of security, okay, if things don't work out, we can still make a trade, and it's not just at the trade deadline. They can make a trade anytime leading up to it.
I mean, making trades is tough, especially for edge rushers. And Brad Holmes, talked about how the elite guys weren't available. But, we'll see what happens come trade deadline time. There certainly is a reason to be concerned about the defense. Last year it wasn't great. But you know what it also is? It's healthier now than they ended last year. And somehow, some way, they took that defense to 15 wins. Tougher schedule, better quarterbacks they'll face. Challenge is going to be steeper. But, they do emphasize their flexibility, which means they have other plans to potentially put in place if called upon. Justin is next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hello, Justin.
Hey, fellas. Doug, right there at the beginning of your little, not rants, but at the beginning of what you were saying there, you actually made a really good point that I kind of overlooked, and it's going to change the tenor of what I wanted to say. You said that, look, even if it doesn't work out, and I'm paraphrasing, even if it doesn't work out with Marcus Davenport, they can make a trade or can make a move at the deadline. My biggest thing is that it feels so irresponsible for both Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell this morning to kind of double down on Davenport and be like, yeah, we're good. We like him. I don't care how good Davenport looks in camp, in preseason. He could look better than Hutch. His history says that he's not going to play more than maybe 4 to 6 games, and there doesn't seem to be a clear backup plan to Davenport. But what you said to start makes me feel a little bit better about it, and knowing that they can maybe go into the season and figure out what they need and then make that move.
So, I mean, I guess I just try to think, all right, what do they mean when they say roster flexibility? And what does that mean in a practical way? I guess what it means to me is we have cap space and we're willing to use it if necessary. But first, we're going to give it a go with a player that we really, really like and figure that, there's a chance he stays healthy. If not, we'll address it. But I don't think they suddenly got stupid and started thinking, nah, we're gonna just do this and be locked into this as our plan all season long. That's what flexibility is: the ability to change directions and make a move. Now, they don't. The problem is, I think a lot of people want the opposite of Hutch to be an elite guy, and there's 5, 6 elite edge rushers in this league, 6, 7, and the odds of getting 2 of them aren't great.
So, I agree with everything you just said. And one of my biggest complaints, and you guys kind of made me aware last week that maybe it's more of a me issue than a them issue, but, why can't the GMs and the coaches just be a little bit more transparent with us? What if Dan Campbell said, look, we're good right now. We know that Davenport has an injured history, but he looks really great, and we want to give him another shot. And if it doesn't work out, we'll pivot. Give us a little bit more than – look, I like what Brad Holmes has done.
But you know what? But that's just doing.
Man in the room.
If they say that, that's just to appease you. They don't. Well,
he admitted that.
They're out there to try to win games.
Justin admitted that.
Yeah, but they don't have to say anything.
Well, look, this is if Davenport gets hurt and they can't get an edge rusher, because that's the thing about a trade. Relying on a trade also includes somebody's willing to give you a player for what you're offering. Now, maybe the Lions will have to overpay for said player.
Fire truck.
Yeah, maybe the Lions will have to overpay for said player, but maybe this is the year where they're willing to do that because they are this close. Everybody down there says it's the best roster we've had. So It's pretty clear they think they got a great shot to win the Super Bowl, and I can't imagine they'd stubbornly just say, Davenport got hurt, we're not doing anything to replace him. It's Carson Anderson, open lines, 97-1 the ticket. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers, you can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. So an example is, go find a heavy favorite, bet your $5 on the money line. Isn't Philly an 8.5-point favorite against Dallas? Bet Philly on the money line, and if they win, just win the game, you get the $300 in bonus bucks. And then you can build your parlays, your player props. You can ride the live lines. You can bet a future. Whatever you want, FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season is finally here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/Doug to download the FanDuel app today and get started. You must be 21 years of age or older and present in Michigan. The first online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Check. Test. Hey, FanDuel is getting you ready to kick off with an offer. Take two and 3, 2, 1. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. Oh, okay. Then never mind. It's Carson Anderson, 97-1 the ticket. That is Dan Campbell this morning. And look, that's gotten a lot of reaction. And the topic of Zadarius Smith came up yesterday on the show. We got flooded with texts of people that would feel a lot better if they added him. Because we did ask the question. The topic wasn't about Zadarius Smith. It was about, hey, going into the season, it's game week. Do you feel better, worse, or the same about this team's chances to win a Super Bowl? And a lot of the response we got from people who felt worse was centered around the edge rusher opposite of Hutch, which feels like a story that went away, and now it's back, and it's back. It's back, and it's rearing its ugly head right before the season. And many people said the same thing. They wanted Zadarius Smith. And Jim Costa asked him the question. People go, why does this keep coming up? And I'm like, I don't know. It keeps coming up because we keep getting asked about it. And people don't flood us with text messages about John Kaminsky. If they did, we'd ask about John Kaminsky. Why don't they bring back John Kaminsky or somebody else? But at the end of the day, there seems to be a disconnect between what many fans feel and the way the Lions feel about their defensive line. And you heard Dan Campbell say they're good. And look, I'm not saying just because Dan Campbell said it, it's chiseled into a stone tablet and we all have to fall in line. What I don't get is the hostility. There is some real hostility towards him and the organization for believing that, but let's get back to the people. Tony is next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Tony.
Hey, how's it going? Good morning.
Good. How are you?
Good morning. I'm okay. I got a theory about what's going on here, and it's kind of, you guys touched on it. The key word is the roster flexibility and what they're rolling with right now. That doesn't mean that if something comes up that we're still going to sit back and roll with what we got. If, as everybody anticipates, Davenport gets hurt, or at the trade deadline, they have like 3 really intriguing options. I mean, if Cincinnati gets off to their notorious slow start as they usually do, Trey Hendrickson can become available. He only signed a $14 million extension, so it's not like we'll be committed with any monies following this year. You also have the Trayvon, the guy from Jacksonville. He could become available, as
Trayvon
well
Walker.
as Kayvon Thibodeau at the Giants now that Abdul Carter is there. So there are options that could come up at the trade deadline if, the key word if, we need to do so. Would I like Zadarius Smith right now? Sure I would, but obviously the Lions don't want to lock themselves into something when something better could be out there, in the future. So that's my take on it. What do you think?
I think it's pretty calculated. I like it. I think you're spot on that if Cincinnati gets off to a bad start and they're at the trade deadline and they're like, we have no chance of making the playoffs, or it's going to be really tough, that they should trade Trey Hendrickson. Get something before you lose them for nothing. But as long as they're in a playoff hunt, it's not likely to happen. They're going to have to go for it. I don't know if those other players are going to be available. I mean, Trayvon Walker was the player taken ahead of Aiden Hutchinson. Thibodeau is awfully good. I think they're the same draft class. I mean, if I were those teams, I probably wouldn't want to move on from those guys. I mean, one of the things the Giants are building is a really good defensive line. So we'll see, though, because players become available all the time you didn't expect to be.
Thank you for the phone call. Let's go to James next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hello, James.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
I think over here a lot of the hostility is coming from, I think everyone loves Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes is a wizard. But the thing is, imagine if Tarek Skubal just refused to pay attention to base runners. And every time a base runner got on, they just stole second and stole third. I love Tarek Skubal, but it would just be so frustrating. Just, take care of that problem of your game. And here it's like the same thing. You have this wizard. He's doing everything brilliant. And there's just one obvious glaring hole in the roster that they're refusing to address. And it's like, yeah, I get you'll have flexibility and all that and everything, but you're starting a season with one guy who has wooden legs and one guy who is not a starting NFL edge.
So you don't think that Aiden Hutchinson's ready to go? You don't think he's going to be any good this year?
No. I mean opposite Aiden. I'm saying wooden legs is Marcus Davenport.
Oh, okay.
Right. I was like, dude.
Well, I think the thing the Lions take into consideration is, first and foremost, they have that guy. They have the guy everybody wants in Aiden Hutchinson. So you thinking it's a glaring hole, and I'm not saying it I don't think I'd say it's glaring. I think it's an area that they could upgrade over if the right player comes along and makes sense. I think it's really interesting that Zadarius Smith hasn't signed with anybody else, and it's really interesting that the Lions have basically made it pretty public that, not interested. So why do you think that is? I mean, they spent half the season with him. They know what he's about. I think it's clear that they don't think he's a fit.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily going for Zadarius. I think Zadarius Smith right now is just the obvious answer to the gaping, hole in the roster. But I do think that people were clamoring for an edge even before then. And now it's just like, do something. And Darius Smith is out there, so people just want them to do something. But I think ideally they should have signed just not even a cheaper option, but someone who's an NFL starter at opposite Aiden. It's just like, it's so frustrating watching such a good roster be so close, and him it feels like he's just doing it, just to be. I don't want to say arrogant. I love Brad Holmes, but it just sort of feels like at this point. It feels like he's not addressing something
there's absolutely zero way that he's doing it just to be arrogant. I think they believe that they have a chance to be right about this one. But the thing is, one thing people have to keep in mind, even though they do have cap space, is much of the money is spoken for. There's a whole escrow thing. There's money that they need to roll over. And could they address it with Zadarius Smith or some other option? They could. What if Davenport's fine and the problem turns out to be in the interior of the offensive line, and they sign Smith now and take up some of their available cap space? That might have him addressing a problem that's not the problem. I mean, look, they could be wrong on this one, but I don't think they're idiots. There has been very little evidence. Like, we've watched idiotic Lions organizations make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. This team and this regime has made pretty good decisions, and they also kind of let things play out a little bit more. I mean, all teams let things play out more than fans want them to, and usually the media wants to. They're letting this one play out, and then we'll see if they address it aggressively if it becomes an issue. But, I mean, last year their defense looked pretty damn good without some great edge. They didn't have Marcus Davenport last year, and the defense started the season really on fire before Hutch got hurt.
They did, but that being said, their sack total on the season wasn't good. Their quarterback rating against was the best in the NFL, but their sack total was not, so people want to see more of that. Hopefully Hutch stays healthy. If he does, he should put up double-digit sack total. I mean, he should be a monster out there. Derek Barnes is entering another year that he's going to be counted on to add to the pass rush as a blitzing linebacker. Davenport, do I think you can count on him? No, I don't. But until he gets hurt, I'm rooting for him because I know with healthy he's good. Here's the other thing. The Lions, when they construct their roster, a lot of what they do, and I think maybe this is another area where fans get upset with them, is that what they've done with this roster is that they have made the bottom end of the roster so good with quality players that the hole isn't, as the previous caller said, glaring. I don't think it is.
Well, he said it's a glaring hole.
It's
not a national story? If it were a glaring hole, it would be a national story. NFC contender ignores glaring hole.
Well, right. But, I mean, when they go out and they sign Tyler Lacey and Tyrus Wheat after when they're getting the roster set, nobody heard those names. Nobody knew what the heck was going on. I trust Brad Holmes in knowing what he's doing. When he's adding these two players to the mix, he's adding them over other guys that they've already seen.
Yeah.
Right?
That's an interesting move.
So these guys are on the actual roster. They're not the practice squad guys. These are guys that you had to go out, that you wanted to go out and get, not take a chance on a practice squad guy and give him the elevated status of the actual 53-man. They went out and got two different guys. I have no idea what to expect from those two. But, again, I think it's about raising the level of play from your bottom-end guys, because those bottom-end guys might be really good for other teams.
Carson Anderson, open lines, 248-539-9797, 97-1 the ticket.
You got some guys working hard at Lansdowne. We don't give shout-outs, though.
No.
But we appreciate their listening.
So I'm kind of workshopping an idea. I'm starting to think that I'm happy that Micah Parsons got traded to Green Bay. And there's a couple things about it. I think it ramped up our team's intensity. Did you hear Goff talking about it? And Campbell talking about it? And with this injury thing, there was a story today on For the Win where a reporter did a research on NFL players that got epidurals. It's happened before, and guys have been able to play. But recent examples are guys who are in their 30s. Micah Parsons is 26. And more news is coming out that Dallas was aware of this and were trying to treat it. And I'm starting to think that there is a non-zero chance, like a decent enough chance, that this is going to backfire. And if it were happening in Detroit, I wouldn't dwell on it, but in the back of my mind, because I'm not a dweller, I don't dwell.
You don't dwell?
Back of my mind, I would be saying what I like to say, this is something to monitor. I'm not panicked, but it's something to monitor. Well, it didn't happen here. Happened somewhere else. And I guess I'm in the same camp. I'm moving more into the something to monitor. But I also heard Goff talk about it a little bit today when they brought up him not, no longer being favored, the Lions not being favored. And I got that. His response was that edgy Jared, like, okay, bring it. And I kind of like that because I think it's really much harder to do that in an authentic way when guys become professional athletes. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think this team's pretty good at it, about getting that chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and I think Jared Goff is as good as anybody else. I mean, I heard Amon-Ra St. Brown say some things, that it shows the Packers are going for it, which makes it fun and exciting for them during the regular season.
Yep.
I mean, it spices up the game with two teams that already have a pretty healthy rivalry. The Lions have kind of owned Green Bay over the last several seasons, where 6 of the last 7 games they've won. It's been pretty impressive what they've done. Packers are a good football team. There's no question about it. And Parsons should make them better. But there is uncertainty with the back issue. We don't know how severe it is. I mean, he's working at practice and hit the sled. I imagine that there's some sort of pain management that has to go on. But I don't expect him to be, I don't think he's going to be worse for wear for that. I'm not buying it that it's going to affect him long term for the season.
Well,
Maybe it will.
The fact that they're playing him, that they're planning on playing him Sunday is interesting. This is what kind of flies in the face of my belief, is if it were really something that was really concerning, they wouldn't rush him onto the field in week 1, would they? It wouldn't make sense to rush him onto the field in week 1. But more we're hearing out of Dallas, and maybe it's just the Dallas spin on thing, Dallas is saving face, saying, we were aware. Oh, we were aware. But that's what some of the reporting that's coming out now.
Well, who else is aware of Green Bay? I mean, otherwise.
Well, they did pass him in a physical. Otherwise, the trade wouldn't have gone through.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying, is that if Green Bay didn't, if they took any offense to this, that they'd void the trade right now. But they're not.
Well, they can't void it now. They had a chance to void it when they gave him a physical. But, something to monitor. And I like the edginess it might bring out, the attention to detail might bring out on our Lions. I guess we'll find out Sunday. They could get trucked Sunday, and then Monday's a full-on panic show, and we're dealing with people standing on the Ambassador Bridge.
Well, that can definitely happen.
Tony, you're on 97.1 The Ticket. Hello, Tony.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I think we've heard this conversation now for quite a few days, and the season starts tomorrow. The question that I have that I really haven't had an answer to is, why haven't other teams had an interest in Zadarius Smith? Why haven't any other team, you would think, should have either signed him by now, or there should have been some rumor out there, or some sports writer should have said something. And it's been crickets.
Yeah, and it's something I bring up all the time. I think it's very interesting and it might be quite telling. 31 other teams haven't signed him either. The Lions, I think, have absolutely distanced themselves. I think it's painfully clear the Lions want nothing to do with Zadarius Smith. I think they were being kind of diplomatic about it in the summer, saying, "Oh, we'll see." It takes two sides to make a deal work, and saying things like that. And then in the end, they could absolutely have gotten something done, and they chose not to. And now they're like, "No, we're good with our roster. We like our roster." So I think that the bottom line is, they saw him last year for almost half a season. They know what he's about, and they probably just don't think he's a fit anymore. Doesn't work.
Yeah, but
we took a chance on a guy at the deadline. We had to.
But once again, we're talking about the Lions and Zadarius Smith. We're not talking about Tampa Bay, or we're not talking about the Jets, or why isn't our defensive coach from last year? Why isn't he interested in him?
Why isn't Aaron Glenn on? Interesting.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, I mean, look,
why
it's Tony. It's a point that, and Kang, you bring this up all the time. If he were that good, somebody would have snatched him up by now. But the Aaron Glenn one, I hasn't even thought of. Aaron Glenn worked with him. But Kang, you've heard this whole conversation this morning. What is your take?
Yeah, I think Gator kind of danced around it earlier. I think, Gator, you said, I think the Lions like Marcus Davenport. And I'll go a little above that. I know the Lions like Marcus Davenport. They've shown us with their words and their actions clearly. Now, they don't love Marcus Davenport because of the injury issues. Everyone knows this. They only signed him to a one-year deal, people. So people freaking out saying they're putting all their eggs in one basket, not necessarily. They know that there's injury history there, so they gave him a one-year deal to prove it. But when he's healthy, they clearly love him. And that's one of the reasons why they haven't brought Zadarius Smith back, is because Marcus Davenport is a better fit for the Lions defense than Zadarius Smith is. He doesn't set the edge. He's getting older. He only rushes the passer, and he's not – I mean, that's only getting worse as the years go on. They like the other guys better that they went out and got off the waiver wire. Now, I think the reason why this hasn't been put to bed either, guys, is the Lions haven't come out and said, we don't want Zadarius Smith. And they shouldn't, because they're good organizations, and good organizations don't MF players. You don't want that rep. So they say nice things, and they dance around it. We've been in contact. We haven't shut the door, all that stuff. So that's one reason it hasn't gone away. And the second reason is they actually might need him. Who knows, week 9, week 10, week 11, when things get really bad, right? They might have to call him back. So you don't want to MF the guy either, because they know he's a good locker room guy. I think it's on the field, really, is where the issues are. And Davenport, when healthy, I know we always have to say that, he's just a much better fit, and they like him a lot better.
Yeah, I just think when Dan Campbell, what he said this morning, I think speaks volumes.
There's a little bit of Cheshire Cat to him, too, like he knows something. You know what I mean?
With Campbell?
Yeah.
They see Davenport every day in practice, and he's, knock on wood, he's been healthy. And like we always say, when he's healthy, well, he's a plus player when he's healthy.
Do you think, too, I mean, here's another unknown. Having access to him to physically, medically clear him, look at what his issues have been, and see how ready he is or isn't?
Yes.
Because I think, do they not have team doctors that examine players all the time to make sure that they're good to go?
And they've spoken recently about how they maybe taking precautions that he's taking precautions and trying to train a little bit differently to hopefully stay healthy, because he knows it's an issue.
If on Sunday at any point on the broadcast they say there's an injured Lion, it's Marcus Davenport, we're going to have 10,000 mentions on Twitter. People are going to come at us like crazy for thinking that they might have the solution in-house. But in a cap league, you run your risks at certain positions. You take calculated risks at certain positions. Now, people want to spend the cap money now. They clearly have it earmarked for other things that they're hoping they don't have to spend it on a edge rusher.
And they're hoping that Josh Pascal can play a role down the road when he gets healthy enough. I mentioned earlier about Derek Barnes being a guy that comes, as a blitzing linebacker on the outside. We're moving him around so that he can get to the quarterback. We've seen Jack Campbell do that, Alex Anzalone. I mean, it's not just the other guy opposite of Hutchinson. I know people want to just look at that and say those are your designated pass rushers, but they're not. Not the way the Lions have run their defense. Now, maybe the defense is going to be different this year with Kelvin Shepard than what we saw with Aaron Glenn, but I doubt it's going to be terribly different. I still think we're going to see the linebackers being utilized and deployed in the pass rush game, and we've seen them get the pass rush even from, like, Brian Branch.
Matt is next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hello, Matt.
Hey now, guys. Driving to Chicago, you made the last hour and a half go pretty quick, so thank you so much for that.
Glad to help.
But By the way, what's next? A marching band, a drum line going to go by you?
We expect it.
I haven't seen it yet, but it's on the route, I'm sure.
All right, so getting the lines in Davenport, the one thing that I really don't like what people do is when they tag a player as injury prone, and everybody calling in, I think I've heard the most he's going to play 3 or 4 games this year, as if there's zero chance that he's going to play all games and be just fine. There's a chance for both of those to happen. And, yeah, he's got injured the last couple of years, but it's not like concussions where it's guaranteed that he's not going to play this season. So, the other thing is, too, is this team, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they know this team much better than we do. Throw away the preseason. We didn't see anything out of the preseason. They've been with this team. We caught snippets here and there. And if there's one thing I can trust is this starting roster is very stacked. And the job they've done putting the depth in place, it's been fantastic. Throw out last year. You're going to have your injuries, but last year was just crazy. So I think we're the most prepared team that if we do have injuries anywhere in this lineup, we have guys that we can fill in. And I think to some extent we got to trust that, yeah, we're good. And if they're not good, I trust Brad Holmes has a plan of fixing that. So I think people just need to relax and calm down a bit.
Matt, we appreciate the phone call, 248-539-9797 outside Comerica Park. A.J. Hinch said something I found really intriguing. We'll get to that in the noon hour. It's about how you process being in first place and feel like you're struggling. We'll hear what he had to say about that in the noon hour. Hey, football season is here, and the University of Michigan Credit Union debit card makes game day even better when you use your Michigan debit card at Chrysler Center, the Big House, or Yost. You'll score discounts on fan favorites like popcorn and souvenir sodas. It's the perfect way to show your team spirit all season long. Don't miss out. Get your Michigan debit card available exclusively from UMCU. Visit umcu.org to get started. Insured by NCUA. So it's funny. That is Dan Campbell, who this morning on the morning show, when asked about why not Zadarius Smith, and people wondering why it's still a topic. We get asked about it almost every day. It's amazing. It's a story that, in the eyes of many fans, they just don't get it. And look, he was a guy who was really, really good. And we've talked about how there comes a point in edge rusher's career where the productivity drops off rather substantially. I think that there is a high probability that Zadarius Smith in 2025 won't be as effective as he was in 2024. But that's not even really what's important. If you are the Lions, would he be more effective than El-Quadin Muhammad? Would he be more effective than a injured and out Marcus Davenport? And those are things that I think fans look at and go, I don't get why they don't bring him in. And, you know, they've had every opportunity to. They're clearly not going to do it. It's September 3rd. The opener is September 7th. Well, and yet it's still probably, it has emerged again as the number one issue that fans have with this team, which is surprising to me. I thought it had all shifted to the young interior offensive line and no Frank Ragnow, but I think I'm wrong.
Well, because we've heard so many great things about Tate Ratledge. We've seen Graham Glasgow play center before, and we've seen the left guard play before as well. I mean, that's not as much of an issue in terms of what we've seen. At least we know it. We don't know if Davenport's going to be healthy. I think there are two other factors that come into this and why this is always brought up. There's no question that the Micah Parsons trade has a role in it. Packers went out and got, one of the best pass rushers in the game. And when we've heard rumors of other pass rushers being available, and yet they really weren't, but there were almost a handful of them, all of them stayed with their respective teams with the exception of Parsons. Parsons actually got traded. So Lions fans automatically are going to look at that and say, why didn't we? And then they're not going to look through it all, the steps, and understand. Yeah. The other part is when it comes to the draft, and we do the Carson Anderson mock draft 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, whatever, and you go right up to the night of the draft. And I think for the most part, people were expecting that they were going to go out and draft an edge rusher. And the first pick comes and goes, and it's not. It's a defensive tackle. Now, clearly there's a need there, and I like Tyleik Williams. I don't have any problem with the pick. It's probably not what I would have done, but I'm okay. I've seen Tyleik Williams play. I think he's going to be a quality player for this team. But because they didn't get an edge rusher in the first couple of picks, when those names were out there of decent edge rushers, decent to good edge rushers, I think that also plays a role in it. And then we have Hassanin, who is the edge rusher they drafted later in the draft, albeit, but he gets hurt. And that's another guy you were hoping to see that isn't. So it just adds to, a long list of reasons why people get nervous about this other edge rusher.
Hey, today's football coverage is presented by Paramount Plus. Stream your local NFL game all season long, kicking off Week 1 with Detroit versus Green Bay, starting at just $30 for your first year. That's like $2.50 a month. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. Let's get back to your open line calls. We go to Joe, who's next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hello, Joe. We lost Joe. Okay. So we've cleared the phone lines, 248-539-9797. In the meantime, good news, Graham Glasgow is good to go for the opener. Isaac Tesla, the update today, sounded like there's a chance he will play.
Yeah, I guess it's an illness, so it's not like he's got a muscle strain or something like that, so that's good news.
Yeah. In the meantime, the 5 captains that were named, any surprises there?
When I saw Stewart's name, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then, special teams guy, I guess that's why. But nonetheless, maybe that's the one that kind of turns my head. You see that Jared Goff and Alex Anzalone are captains, and they are clearly the leaders on offense and defense. And I think one of the things it does is it shows you that this team has so much faith in Alex Anzalone.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they didn't necessarily give him some giant pay raise or give him a little bonus for coming back this year, and despite the fact that he is woefully underpaid for his position and his productivity.
Feedback coming in. Just because fans don't see the backup plan doesn't mean there isn't one. Guys like Wingo, who played edge last year, and Ukwu, the guys they brought in who were waived, also Hassanin, will be back on this team when the injury settlement clears. That's from an unnamed texter.
Well, Wingo, I think, and if you look at a depth chart, he's more of an interior guy, but he goes inside-outside. He's one of those tweeners, kind of like all the guys they draft are like that. That's why you can understand Davenport over Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith is built in that mold of just this pass rushing guy. Nothing wrong with that, but they want something else from their defensive end. They want a guy that can stand up and knock a guy down at the line of scrimmage and make a play on a running back. That's why they're there. But Wingo and Pascal is, when Pascal gets healthy, that's another guy that gets in that mix. Al-Qadim Muhammad could be a real interesting player for him because he flashes.
Yeah, I see why they like him. I really do. Now, is he just a guy? Is he average production? How many snaps will he get? Or is he below average? I think they see him as more than just a guy. And that's Dan Campbell saying, I like my depth, or I like our depth. Let's go to Ed. You're next on 97.1 A Ticket. Hi, Ed.
Hi, guys. Actually, what I was calling about was what Gator just mentioned. I think, a lot of people talk about Micah Parsons not being able to set an edge or good against the run. And I think Zadarius Smith, same type of player, but a lot older. Davenport does set a great edge, and after all, that's what your defensive end is supposed to do first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Davenport is he doesn't play. The last 2 years, I think he's played like 6 games the last 2 years. Before that, you go back 3 seasons ago was his best season where he played 15 games, at least the most games he's played in a season. Outside of that, it was like 11 and 13. Those are his highs. He's been hurt his whole career, and that's the disappointing part because you see there's talent there. 1 year he had 9 sacks in 11 games.
Well, I remember back when my son was playing high school football. He had aspirations of playing college ball, and a doctor told him, he said, look, what you need to do first and foremost is pack on a lot of muscle because that's going to protect you from injury more than flexibility. And maybe Davenport's been doing that more.
Well, I'm sure that the Lions have strength and conditioning.
Plenty muscular.
Yeah, he's a massive individual. I'll tell you
I understand that, but I mean, maybe more specialized training to avoid some of the injuries that he's had.
Well, I think he's done some of that this offseason and into training camp. I think they've addressed that a little bit.
Thanks, Ed. Let's go to Ethan next on 97.1 A Ticket. Hi, Ethan.
Fellas, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I wanted to chime in here, and I know it's not exactly the hottest of takes. I kind of look at the Lions' defensive situation and, the depth at the edge position specifically. I do think that at some point that will most likely have to be addressed. But I think when you look at it from the perspective of the Lions had, when Aiden Hutchinson was healthy, before he got hurt last year, the Lions had unarguably a top 10 defense in the league. Would you guys agree with that?
They looked very complete before he got, I was thinking, holy crap, this team is good on offense and defense, and then the injury started.
Yeah, and granted, they all happened seemingly on one side of the football. That's not going to happen again. It's probably going to be a little bit more even this season. However, the level of devastation on the defensive side of the football, it was unsustainable. And I said that so many times last year. You can't be injured like that and win a Super Bowl. It just doesn't happen. The teams that win Super Bowls stay relatively healthy for the most part. So I think when you're looking at it through that lens, I look at what they have defensively. I look at the edge situation. I do think they need to add a little bit more depth there. I think what one of your previous callers said about Zadarius Smith is very true. It's not just he's not signing with the Lions. He's not signing with the Jets. He's not signing with, a lot of different teams who could be considered contenders who need edge rushers. He hasn't signed anywhere. So I do think that that's a bit telling. And then one more thing real quick. I just wanted to touch on the Micah Parsons situation. And, Doug, I think what you brought up was a very interesting point about the injury situation. However, I think when you look at, needing an epidural, it's hard for me to judge how severe that injury is, but it certainly doesn't sound like something that's just nothing because you don't get epidurals for nothing. That's a, pretty invasive injection that you have to get. So
it's funny because
I think he'll get better. I think he'll be healthy as the season goes on, but I don't think he's going to be a huge factor in the game coming up this Sunday.
I don't think it's nothing, and they have so much invested in him. I mean, they have so much invested in him that if it is something, that could be crippling for them. Now, the Lions have an injured guy that they're counting on in Davenport. The difference is they have nothing invested in him. In fact, this contract is incentive-based. If it doesn't work out, it's not going to cost him anything.
Let's be fair. He's maybe injury-prone, but he's not injured. Right now he's healthy.
No, he's not right now.
So let's keep that in mind. He's perfectly healthy right now. Hopefully he stays that way for a long time.
It's Carson Anderson, 97.1, the ticket. Thank you for all the Lions calls. People are ready for this season. My God, are they ready for this season? We're ready for this season to start. Meanwhile, we got college football. NFL game tomorrow. Big matchups for Michigan and Michigan State this weekend. It's all here, and Detroit is on edge, ready to jump in both feet to another great season of football. In the meantime, Scott, the Powerball is up to $1.3 billion.
I actually saw it just went up during today. It's now up to $1.4 billion.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. We know that you're going to get tickets.
What?
We know that Kang is going to get tickets, unless you guys both already have. Have you already purchased tickets?
No, I got to get them after the show. Yeah, I'm going to get them.
Okay.
I got a question for you at the end of this too, Doug.
Okay. We will start. We do something called Would You Buy? This is along those lines. Would you wait in line for an hour to buy tickets?
No.
Okay. You can buy them online now, right?
Oh, you mean, I'm sorry, to buy the lottery tickets?
Yeah.
No, I would not wait an hour. Yes, you can buy them online. I don't think I've ever waited more than 5 minutes.
Kang, would you wait in line for an hour to buy tickets?
No, I just buy them online.
Have you bought them online before?
I have not, but I know people that do. And if it's
I
between waiting an hour and buying them online, I'm buying them online.
And I got to tell you, I was at a convenience store and I walked in last night to just grab something real quick. I had to leave because lottery guys were in front of me, and I'm like, I'm going to be here for a while.
Well, the problem with the lottery guy is the lottery guy isn't necessarily buying Powerball tickets. The lottery guy is the guy who goes in and wants to buy out all the scratch-offs and doesn't know how much money he's got to purchase them. And then he's like, oh, wait, I still have $5. Give me another one of those and 2 more of those.
That's who
like,
was at the
dude.
front of the line, and then a dude behind him was talking about getting his lottery tickets, and I'm sitting there after about 45 seconds. I went, yeah, this ain't happening. This Gatorade Cucumber Lime Zero can wait.
Oh, wow.
So I went the other direction.
Still
All
found
right.
it.
Would you, if you won, would you rent out the Sphere in Vegas for a huge game-watching party?
Oh, man. No, not the Sphere. Too big. But what I would do is there's that. What's that other theater that's is taking over the country now? They're going to build one downtown here.
Oh,
I forget what it's called.
yeah, the immersive experience.
Yeah,
Kang, do you remember what those things are called?
No, I don't, but that's where you go with this. You're right, Gator.
Yeah, I saw that. It was last week. I saw a shot of that at one of the college games. And it looked amazing.
It was
I'm like,
it
that
was
is
in
so great.
Austin, Texas, and they were showing Ohio State,
Yeah,
Texas.
that was it. It looked amazing. So, and I can't wait for that to happen here in Detroit. And
Cosm.
Yep. They are building one here, and yeah, that's what I would do. I'd
You'd
rent
rent it out for like the
Yeah.
Michigan State game.
Yep.
I don't know what time the game starts. Okay,
I'd
just so you know.
appreciate if you let me know.
Kang, would you rent out the Sphere?
So I've been there. It's incredible, okay? But it's enormous and incredibly expensive. I don't think I would waste that's a lot of money I'm sure it would cost. I'm going to do what Gator's doing. I'm going to Cosm or Chasm or whatever you want to call it, but it's going to be a lot cheaper than the Sphere.
All right. Next up, if you win, would you rent out a Major League Baseball park, an NHL rink, an NBA arena, or college or pro stadium to play games with your friends?
Yes. Yes, I would. And look, I can't skate, or at least I skate very poorly. I have issues with that, so it wouldn't be a hockey arena. You know, I've been fortunate enough to take some shots at back at the Palace. That was fun.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be that. It would be baseball. And I think I would look at not necessarily Comerica Park, but like maybe get a trip with guys and pay for it all and go to like Fenway.
Ooh.
And just try to pepper the wall out there in left field. It'd just be a ton of fun. That to me is something that just seems awesome.
Kang, would you rent out an MLB park, NHL rink, or NBA arena, or college or pro stadium to play games with your friends?
Yep, all of them but hockey because I can't skate, so it'd be pointless for me. But yeah, I mean, like, it'd be, Little Caesars Arena, Ford Field, the Big House, Comerica Park, all of them. Because they do this already for companies and things like that. So, yeah, it can't be that expensive, and I would absolutely, whatever season, was going on, I'd be there.
All right. If you hit the $1.4 billion lottery, would your wardrobe be vastly different?
Yeah, I think so. Normally I'm just a T-shirt and jeans kind of guy. But I would anticipate that I would start to look better. I would, first of all, I'd be getting myself in much better shape because I, would have, there'd be no excuses. I mean, you literally, what are you doing today? I'm working out. That's my daily plan. I'm going to go play golf, whatever it is. So with that, you can get a better wardrobe, and I like to look nice. So
Okay.
yeah, I could see myself dressing completely different, particularly in the fall and winter months.
Kang, would your wardrobe be vastly different?
First of all, that surprises me that you would say yes to that, Gator. I feel like you would just get a
More
different
T-shirts?
Yeah, a different Metallica shirt. You know what I mean?
I'll get more T-shirts. That'll happen.
Vastly different. No, I mean I like to dress comfortable. I do that now, but I would get nicer shirts that were comfortable as well, but nothing vastly. You wouldn't even know the difference, Doug. If I put on an $80 T-shirt or a $10 T-shirt. Now I would just have the $80 T-shirt. That's all.
You might not catch me without a sport coat if that was going on. I'd look good.
Here's the thing, is that you guys, I'm advising both of you on this one because I can't play because I don't buy tickets, so I'm not allowed to dream. But tailored clothes, like specific for your body shape, is very, very nice. There's not many examples. I don't have a lot of examples, but like when I got fitted for a suit.
A well-tailored suit is great.
It's hard for me because I'm between large and extra large. I have like extra large I need for sleeves, and I need large in the belly. Extra large feels like a tent. So I find it's very hard to find clothes, shirts specifically, that fit well. But having somebody that can tailor clothes.
Yeah.
So
big.
I would recommend that for both of you if you win.
I would be part of it. Yes.
Best of luck. Best of luck.
Oh, I had one question for you, Doug. Is that it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's it.
All right. How big does the jackpot have to get for you to buy a ticket? Wow. There's got to be a number, man. Come on, Doug. We know you don't buy, and we know that's why you don't participate. But what if the jackpot got to $2 billion? Would you finally buy a ticket?
It's not about how much it is.
I know
I know. No, there's not. It's not
there's
a
no
number,
money?
Kang.
There's not a number?
There's no money.
Oh.
No, it's not. It's. All I say to people is, would you ever play the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with a Powerball of 7?
Or 1 through 5, a Powerball.
Whatever
6.
it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a Powerball of 6. And they all say no. Why? Because that would never happen. Nothing would ever happen.
So $3 billion.
No, it doesn't matter. It's never going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a Powerball of 6.
Doug's too pragmatic about it.
I'm sorry.
And he doesn't like
I get what you're, and
$4 billion.
It's all, you're just naming numbers that I'm not going to win.
Doug.
$20 billion.
The one thing that would get me to buy is if you spot me 4 numbers and I only have to hit 2.
Oh, my God.
I know. I mean, you give me, what does it open at? 1.5 million?
I don't know.
It's 40. I think it's 40 million. 20 or 40 million, something like that.
Yeah, that's enough for me to live the rest of my life unhappily. And if it were about that, I would buy every single time. But yeah, I mean,
$25 billion.
It's not my jam, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
He's not budging, Kang.
Nothing.
No, he wouldn't do it.
We're doing it wrong. Like we have to do it like in terms of like kale or something that he'd be into.
How many bales of kale?
Exactly.
Yeah,
then he'd be like, wait a second, what?
Let's just feed right into the stereotype.
I mean, you know what you could have? You could have an in-house chef. You don't have to worry about, what's for dinner tonight? Do I have to make this? Do I have to make that? No, it's all done for you.
Yeah.
To your satisfaction, to your standards.
That's right. That's right. The personal chef.
Yes.
Personal chef.
Personal trainer.
Personal trainer. Personal golf coach.
Therapist.
A team. I need a team of therapists.
Team. Yeah.
All right.
Tailored clothes.
So, AJ Hinch asked this morning, how do you recommend fans process a team that's still winning? A team that's got the most wins in the American League, although not the best record anymore by half a game, but a team that feels like it's struggling. How do you recommend fans process that? His answer was really interesting. We'll play it for you today, coming up at 12:16. Here on Carson Anderson Open Lines, 248-539-9797. 97.1 to take it. Hey, your favorite Wednesdays are back at Twin Peaks. That's right, just in time for fall. They're rolling back, bourbons and brews. Stop in to your favorite lodge. You can see the stunning Twin Peaks girls dressed to impress in their finest black lingerie, serving up samples of high-end bourbons. Sampling start at 6 p.m., so don't be late. But it's not just about the bourbons. Sam Adams Oktoberfest is their beer of the month for just $6.50 all month long. And the fun doesn't stop there. Enjoy dynamite dishes from their scratch kitchen like the in-house smoked ribs, brisket, and chicken. Hand-cut New York strips and fried-to-order favorites like boneless wings and tenders. And what brings it all together? Well, that's sports. You got your local baseball team right now in the fight for the best record in the league. NFL kicks off Thursday and Friday. In-state college football on Saturday. And your Cardiac Cats begin the defense of the North on Sunday. See the Twin Peaks difference today. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views. Just real quick. Every once in a while, like you get this kind of gut feeling with something, and you just say, I probably shouldn't say this, but I said it on the air, that I'm almost happy the Micah trade happened to Green Bay. Do you think I'm going to rue the day I said that? Do you think I'm going to get mocked incessantly for saying that? Did I just run the risk of it ending up on freezing cold takes?
Kind of, yeah.
Did I? Kang,
Yeah.
am I gonna rue this, or do you have any? Do you kind of get where I'm coming from?
Are you going to rue it? Possibly, yeah. You've definitely opened yourself up to cold, freezing takes. I mean, when you say something like that.
I just feel like it's increased the urgency factor in the Lions side by a factor of 10, and this whole injury thing feels peculiar and almost like something is being hidden.
So my problem isn't the comment, it's why you make the comment. I think you're trying to use a psychological trick to make yourself feel better about what happened, and you don't have to.
I just look in. Well, Clydesdale cop walking past just started yelling at us signs and areas, so that tells you where we're at. Anyway, yeah, maybe. I put them out there, but I'm not afraid, so all good. All right, let's shift gears here and talk a little Tigers. They get embarrassed at home last night. That was kind of rough, but there's been some rough ones lately, hasn't there? And the starting pitching in particular.
Well, there have been. I mean, but you give up 10 runs and 12 runs. That's brutal to look at. I mean, that's just a failure all around. And, you know, the first game when they gave up all those runs, they scored a bunch of runs too. They scored 8. You should win games when you score 8 runs, but there's going to be the occasion that you don't. And the Tigers are, I believe, 22-3 in games where they score 8 runs or more. So, yeah, it's roughly 9 out of 10 times you're going to win that game. That was one that you didn't. But last night, you get off on the wrong foot, giving up a home run in the first inning, but you come back and you tie things up, and then you take the lead, albeit it's a short 2-1 lead, but it's a lead nonetheless, and they just haven't been able to pitch with the lead from the starting standpoint lately. It's a very short sample size, right? It did just end up beating Kansas City over the weekend. That was good. And they were coming off a pretty good run there. But when they lose, and they're losing in bunches occasionally, you hope that they can get stopped today. They need to stop it today.
So, look, I don't look at – I'm not playing my need to win this game card just yet, but if you look at the starting pitching the last 34, 35 games, the ERA is over 4. And that's not World Series caliber starting pitching. But it was a great question today from John Jansen to A.J. Hinch this morning on the morning show. He asked him, how do you recommend the fans process a team that is still winning to the point where their record is what it is and where they stand in the American League and several games up on having this first-round bye, and yet having a starting pitching group that struggles have gone on here for quite some time? Here's what A.J. Hinch had to say. God, he's a steady hand at the top.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I like to hear from him, and because that's what he's telling his team on a daily basis is, you got to stay even keel. You can't get too high, you can't get too low. What I love about A.J. Hinch, he's so smart and he's so quick with something that can calm down and de-escalate a situation so quickly. Like, hey, we were just off the top of his head, first team in the American League to 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 wins. And you're like, wait, let me go back. Yeah, they were. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, actually they were. They're pretty good. They're a half game out of the lead in the American League. The last 2 games notwithstanding, they're bumps in the road. It's baseball. It's going to happen like that. Like we keep saying, if you win 2 out of 3 games, you're in great shape. The last 70 games, I think the Tigers have won half of those games. So they're 500 during that part, but, the first 70 games of the season, they were 20 games above 500. They're a good baseball team, but they're a flawed baseball team, much like every other team.
Well, there's some code words in there, too, when he said a lot of teams have issues. Like, that's his way of saying other teams have problems, too. Ours right now is our starting pitching not performing the way we'd like. And, he's trying not to dwell on that. He's looking at his opportunities for other guys to step up. It's really weird because it's hard to imagine a legitimate World Series contender with this many questions at starting pitching at the beginning of September. But, as he pointed out, we have large sample sizes, and the names he mentioned were Flaherty, Chuck Money, and Mize, of all being good for either in the postseason or long stretches of time, and it's just a matter of getting back to that. The other code phrase he used was, we've shown we can be creative. That's pitching chaos.
That's pitching chaos. And the other thing I love that he does is nothing's taken for granted from him. He's like, and potentially a postseason.
Yeah.
So he's not guaranteeing it's a postseason. We can do that. Fans can do that. But he's not doing that. He's got to keep this team focused and ready to go. But it seems like a foregone conclusion. This is a quality baseball team that's going to make the playoffs and likely win the division. Can they maintain a 1 or 2 seed? Let's hope they can.
All right, next up, A.J. Hinch this morning was asked a question. It's another one of these great questions that fans ask us, and so we go straight to the morning show goes straight to the manager and asks him, can Troy Melton be moved into the starting rotation and be an answer? Here's what A.J. Hinch had to say. It's an interesting answer, and it gives some insight onto what he's thinking. I've got this asset here. Do I want to use it once in the series? Or do I want to have it on hand? And we're talking about a postseason series.
Right.
Do I want to use it once as a starter? Or, as he said, twice in 5 days or 3 times in 8 days? Or do I want to use it multiple times in a series? And so these are the things that he's considering, because he clearly values, hey, I got somebody on the bench that's my solution. And that is the case every time this team takes the field behind us.
Yeah, he really likes Troy Melton, and there's reason to. Troy Melton's pitched awfully well for the Tigers outside of like one early appearance. He's been great, and there's so much to like. The high 90s fastball, the other secondary pitches he's got. He's got a good command of what he's doing out there and a good command of the strike zone. And you find a guy like that, you want to see him as often as you can. Whether it's in the rotation or not, I'd love to see him in the rotation, but he makes such a compelling point there about, using this guy. Let's say you can split it up. If you're going to have him pitch 5 innings in a start, or you have him pitch 5 innings divvied up between 2 outings in the same series, yeah, you can make a strong argument. I'd rather have him the 2 outings because you're going to get solid pitching during that time. The problem is that the starters aren't offering enough outside of Skubal, where you're like, well, it's okay. We can get through a Charlie Morton start or a Casey Mize start with, getting through the 5th or the 6th inning before we have to deploy the bullpen.
We use a term, or maybe I use a term all the time, the best version of yourself. We've seen some of these guys' worst versions too much lately, where they're just getting big crooked numbers put up on them. And, there's still time. the Fetter factor is still there. Now, maybe Chris Fetter doesn't have all the answers. He did for a while there, but I would imagine they're working on some things, and you can see how they could take a guy like Montero, and they've really started to get some use out of him, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, out of the bullpen, the bullpen has been great lately, and the second best bullpen in baseball in the month of August. There's more guys now that you're counting on to be good when their number is called. But the rotation, that leaves something to be desired. Even the lineup, I mean, we live and die every night by the lineup and what they're able to accomplish or not accomplish. I mean, last night they got off to this great start against Nolan McLean, who's one of these phenoms that comes out there, and you see all the stuff that McLean's got, and yet he's throwing for 50 pitches in the first couple of innings. Like, okay, we're going to knock this guy out early. And that's not the case, because then McLean ends up having a 12-pitch inning, a 10-pitch inning, and next thing you know, his pitch count's in order, and he's retired 14 in a row, and the team looks awful at the plate because the movement on his pitches is ridiculous, and you just don't know what to expect.
Tiger baseball coming up this afternoon. Tigers taking on the New York Mets. Mets have won the first 2 games in this series, and pretty good team out of the National League. Tigers looking to rebound today. We'll hear more from A.J. Hinch when we continue from outside Comerica Park here on Carson Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket.
Hey, it's Gator, and talking about the Builder's First Source. Make it your destination for professional window and exterior door installations. You can add value and beauty to your home with trusted brands like Anderson, Pella, Therma-Tru, and more. Then have your new windows and doors installed properly the first time with their expert Builder's First Source installation team. Done right with quality products and services. Visit one of their locations in Clinton Township or Shelby Township or online at buildersfirstsource.com. That's buildersfirstsource.com.
It's Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Tigers taking on the Mets this afternoon. Hey, thanks for all your calls as we've talked, mostly Lions and Tigers today, but hey, we're headed for a team with Super Bowl aspirations getting ready to kick off their season, and we got a team with World Series aspirations. And, God, I mean, playoff baseball. Playoff baseball is so great, and it's right around the corner, and they got a 9-game lead, and magic numbers getting smaller all the time. And as A.J. Hinch said, if you heard literally in every soundbite we played so far, him talk about if we make the postseason, and we still have work to do. So he's not counting any chickens, but it sure does look promising for this group right now to get into the postseason. By the way, all today's football coverage is presented by Paramount Plus. Stream your local team NFL game all season long, kicking off in Week 1 with Detroit versus Green Bay. Starting at just $30 for your first year. That's like $2.50 a month. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today.
I was looking at the weather in Green Bay for Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
And
I do that for Norman. You know.
It looks like it's going to be a little chilly.
Is it going to snow?
The high, no, it's not going to snow, but a high is in the 60s, like the low 60s.
Okay.
But the low was 40.
Really?
Yeah. So it's not the
You
frozen
sure it's not
tundra.
going to snow?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's not going to snow. But the low is 40, so you figure game time it'll probably be right around 60 or maybe high 50s, and it's just going to drop when that sun goes down. It's football weather. That's fall football.
Yes, it is. It's felt like that around here. It feels like it's been an
well,
early fall.
Today it's gorgeous. Today it's like 80 degrees.
A little too hot.
Shut up.
I'm into seasonably
Just stop.
appropriate weather, and I want it to be a little cooler in the fall.
Then you'll love tomorrow.
Yeah.
But they got a breeze blowing in towards home plate.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll help keep the ball inside the ballpark and mitigate the damage that guys like Pete Alonso and crew can do.
Just real quick, about 40 minutes ago, old guy came up and started. Was he yelling and pointing at us while we were on the air? Was he mad about something?
I don't know if he was or wasn't.
He looked angry.
One of the guys was talking to him. He didn't. At the end, he seemed fine. I thought he gave a fist bump to one of the guys at the end there, but he could have been.
Team, yeah. Thought we got an angry caller in person. But anyway, all right. So, AJ Hinch with the morning show today. Casey Mize. How does he get back to being what he was? Because remember, he was an all-star. Here's what AJ Hinch had to say. It's funny. After today, I think he's got 4 starts. So the sense of urgency is getting cranked up for a guy like today's starter, Casey Mize. 4 starts. So I'm not saying it's now or never. I think he's probably trending to get a start in the postseason, but he does want to turn it around.
Yeah, he was counted on so heavily early in the season when it was clear that we're getting a good version of Casey Mize. So if he's able to get close to that form of being an all-star, his ERA was below 3 for a long time. It'd be amazing if we can get that back. I would love for them to have that second guy that is absolutely counted on to be a stud. We just can't count on it at this point.
Yeah. All right. Now, not everything has been doom and gloom, even though we've talked about some things and parts of this team that are struggling. Although AJ, I think, he did address it today. Bullpen has been better of late. Here's what AJ Hinch had to say about his bullpen. It feels as though A.J. Hinch has used Toledo as like spots 26, 27, 28 on this major league roster because there's so many guys that get sent up and down.
29 and 30 and 31.
And bullpen guy number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. There are so many guys that they continue to cycle through and send up and down. And you send a guy down, you got to leave him down for a while, but due to rules. But, there's – and you still also have these weird unknown variables like Lang and Urquidy that I guess could still be here.
Cobb. I mean,
yeah, I think he's starting tonight. Is Cobb starting tonight or did he start last night?
Pitched 1 inning. And even like Reese Olson.
Yeah.
Is he going to come back? I know they asked him about that, and they still got to wait and see. He hasn't started throwing yet, so I mean that doesn't sound like it's like they're counting on it, but they're hopeful that he can rejoin the team at some point in October.
Yeah.
If they're still playing baseball, which we have good reason to believe they still will be. So. I just think that there's so many pitchers on this roster that we're going to see a bunch of still. I mean, you mentioned a bunch of guys we haven't seen yet that we will between Cobb, Urquidy, and Lang. I think they're coming back, but does that mean that it's the end of we're done seeing Chase Lee and Summers and
I don't think
Gibson Long is going to make another start? I think they kind of committed to that.
I don't know what we can count on, right?
There's going to be pitching chaos. The question is, who is going to deem themselves eligible for the pitching chaos?
Dude,
right?
When this postseason roster gets set, there's probably going to be like 42, 43 players going, did I make it? Did I make it?
Tyler Holton was so key to the team last year, and he's struggled this year. Tommy Kahnle was so good to start the season, then he was awful. Now he's had a couple of outings where he's been better. Okay, Montero was a guy you didn't expect. There he is. Finnegan's been incredible. Vest has been very good. They've got some guys here.
Well, we had a term that popped up on the show a few years ago, and I feel like this series so far has just been yuck, throw it in the garbage, which is a way of saying move on and just get the next one. This has been a yuck, throw it in the garbage start to the series.
Without question. They've given up too many runs. The starting pitching just hasn't been good. The defense on occasion has been iffy. And we've seen the defense, unfortunately, the last several weeks has just not been up to par. You had to play last night in center field, a fly ball in deep part of the ballpark in right center field. And, both the center field and right fielder are calling for it. I mean, it's a center fielder's ball, but they kind of collide and they don't catch it. It's just another
Paging
issue.
Parker Meadows. What's the latest on Parker Meadows?
He played last night. He's played in 5 games, and I think he's got 4 hits during that time. He's got a triple and a double. I imagine he'll be – I bet you he's up here for the weekend series.
Yeah, when you see plays like that, it's just a reminder of how – because it's not only that he makes the routine plays, he can make the plays that aren't so routine that become big in games where every out matters and certainly the intensity is cranked up. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the stretch. And, God, it's – even a year ago, I'm not sure people believed they were going to the playoffs. 1 year ago at this time?
No, because they were still chasing it.
Yeah.
And the way they were doing was so unconventional because they had already employed the pitching chaos at that point.
Yep.
But you were getting contributions from Parker Meadows, who was playing like an all-star.
All right, Tiger Baseball straight ahead here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, Michigan Auto Law, auto accident attorneys. They specialize only in auto and truck accidents. Many law firms don't specialize but focus on many different areas of the law. You wouldn't go to a doctor who specializes in all sorts of medicine. Why would you do that with your lawyer? Specialist